I think the change of now with the transfer portal and other guys of money, nil money, is that I don't think players are going to schools to play with each other. I think they're just going for the top money. Is that you got people who don't, still selfish and want the top dollar and probably pocket watching too at the same time. So I think that's really a problem because I can say that playing together freshman year going into summer school early, they really build up a bond with everybody and working together. Damn, they're dying on a workout field. So I don't think a lot of schools, a lot of players are going for that fit. I think it's really some people just going for the top dollar, all around
Well,
football and basketball.
I do want to get into this. Tony, when you look at this season for West Virginia basketball, was it successful? I mean, we made the tournament, but is that all we can expect now? I mean, honestly, is this where we're at? Is this it forever? Tell me, Tony. Make me feel better or not. Oh, now you're muted. See, now you're muted. Now that you're talking and not coughing, you're muted. Tony, I don't know if, how do we need to get you into broadcasting
We're
school?
good, right?
Yeah, you're great. You're great now.
So here's the answer to your first question. You said, was it a successful season? Okay. The previous year, you won 16 games and you didn't get to the NCAA tournament. This year, you won 3 more games, but for some reason, it seemed like you won 10 more games and you got to the NCAA tournament. So I think that to answer your question, the answer is yes. You know how hard it is. I mean, we saw a lot of teams that have great reputations and traditions not get into the NCAA this year, including the University of North Carolina. And so I think anytime you get to the NCAA tournament, there's no way that you can say that's not a successful season. Okay, so that's the first piece of it. Now let's go to the next levels of that. If you want to evaluate and say, should you have advanced past the first round? The answer was yes, you should have advanced past the first round. That Maryland team, it was an 8-9 matchup. It was there for the taking, and you did not get it done. You did not play well enough. You shot poorly. They shot well, which means you didn't defend well enough, and you blew a lead. And so in that, if you want to micro the thing down to the last game of the year, you should have absolutely been playing in the second round and take your shot against Alabama. So the answer to your question is somewhere in the middle. To say that it wasn't a successful season after not making the tournament the previous year and then getting in, I say, yeah, it was, but it's not. Obviously, everyone would, at a minimum, would love to be able to advance on and play some more games in the tournament.
And do you think this is where the program is going to be, or I'm optimistic because I feel like he's starting to use the transfer portal, and I think this was a good. At least we looked better this year to players maybe who want to come in.
So, is this where it's always going to be? The answer would be, I would just say, okay, well, let's take a look at the history in Huggs's 16 seasons, and yes, we've hit a dry patch as to where we are right now compared to where we were. But if you take a look at the totality of what can be done, we've had success, right? What did we make it to we've made it to the championship game on multiple occasions of the Big 12 tournament. We've made it to semifinal Friday on multiple occasions. You got to remember, if you're making it to the semifinal round, that means 6 teams aren't, and the 4 are still in there. And so we've had that run. We need to go back in regard to getting a identity. We've lost our identity. And I think that, to be quite honest with you, is true both in football and in basketball. I thought the Press Virginia brand was a stroke of genius. You were known across the country. Anyone that follows college basketball knew about Press Virginia. And I think that's important, especially for a school like West Virginia, to have an identifier. And I think the same can be said in football. We don't have what we are. go back to you guys, Steve. You guys were playing a different style of football than almost every other school, both offensively and defensively, right? We're running odd stack defensively, and people just weren't doing that, right? And then on the other side, offensively, we're running power quarterback stuff. Rich came in with that whole thing that, people thought he was going to throw the ball all over the lot like he did at Glenville, but instead he reformatted how he wanted to move the ball, and you guys, played at a whole different level and a different speed with power run quarterback and all that type of stuff. So I think we've lost who we are. And defensively, basketball wise, we've been, so far away the last couple of years from where we were when, Javon was here and Daxter was here and those guys were here. I mean, people did not want to play us in the sense that, oh gosh, here come these guys.
It's not going to be high scoring game. It's going to be a hall fart game. Yeah.
It's going to be here comes a root canal. Who wants to do that? and people did not like playing. I mean, we had guys, most of the time you have a really good team, like you got to have a couple guys who one eye goes straight and the other eye goes sideways. And you know what I mean by that? I mean, you got to have
yep. Little bad bunch. Yeah.
You got to have like dudes that just like, here we go, man. You're going to hate this because I'm going to get up on you all night long, and we've lost that. And if you can't guard really, really well at the level that we play at the high level of the Big 12, you're never going to have a chance. And so, long answer to your short question, Matty, that's where I would like to see. We need to regain who we are.
Well put. I agree.
I said the problem me and Matty talked about all year is that we get up for the higher teams, the ranked teams, and then we don't play as well with the teams we're supposed to be. We keep them around.
Yeah, and the issue was that the bad teams weren't bad. That, you know what I'm saying? Like we talked about how good the league is, and that's why you can never take a night off. Like that Texas Tech loss at home, that was like, what are you doing? And what are you doing? You ran them off the floor in Lubbock, and you were unable to get them at your place. Now, I know they had a couple players come back in that game, but regardless, I mean, I look back, and I'll always look back on this season at the K-State loss, the Oklahoma State loss when we opened up the league with 2 straight road games. Those were 2 you should have brought back to Morgantown. Texas Tech game, 3. The Baylor game at our place first time, when we played them the first time, which was in Morgantown. I mean, those are all games that you get those, and now you're sitting there and you're talking about 23-24 wins, and you're talking about, like a 10 to 11 win season in the league. Those are game-changing things, and we just never were able to get those done.
And I think a lot of that is the team had, it's one season to play together. You give that same team 2 seasons to play together, and they're going to win those games, I think. Can I tell you a story about a young man and his first time in college?
Please do.
This story is brought to you by our friends at the Book Exchange, our new sponsor. Use our code Burning Couch to get 25% off when you go buy something from the Book Exchange. So my first week at WVU, I'm a rube. I'm fresh off the farm. I think I'm cool, but probably not. So my first week at WVU, like all students their first week at WVU, I was at the Book Exchange. And I was shopping for books. I met this really pretty blonde. She had sorority sweatshirt on, and I'm like, we're talking about books, and I think I'm really getting somewhere. 18, 19. I think it's going on. And so at the end, I asked her out. No, this is probably a junior who's in the sororities, and I am a lowly freshman with hayseed stuck in my hair. What do you think she said?
Of course. Give me the number, Matty.
Nah, Steve. No, she let me down. She gave me a big fat no. Never saw her again. I mean, saw her on campus a couple times, but I never said hi again. She deflated me for probably a full year from asking girls out. But you know who's never deflated me? The Book Exchange. They've always been there, Steve. They've always been there when I needed them. They'll give me a hug. I walk in the Book Exchange, ask for a hug. I get a hug.
And Matt is funny because she was an imitator. And just like Morgantown, there's a lot of imitators. and Morgantown, but the Book Exchange is not one of them. The history, like we talked about, since 1934, a small family-run owned business. Burning Couch, right now, you would get 20% off. But we already said it's almost nearly free. Largest selection of women's gear, WVU gear, men, women, children, kids, what have you.
And by the way, you can still go and, of course, spend your first week getting your textbooks there as well. There are so many people who come into Morgantown and try to make money off of West Virginia. The Book Exchange, if you're going to spend your money on West Virginia gear, spend it local, spend it family-owned. We support family-owned businesses. In fact, we have no sponsors that aren't family-owned businesses. The Book Exchange, use the code Burning Couch, go to bookexchangewv.com. And remember, take a screenshot, keep your receipt. We're going to do a drawing at the end of the month, Steve, for some cool gear from the Book Exchange. And you're going to throw in something that they would never be able to get, correct?
Yeah, nostalgic. That's the key word that we're going to have with the Book Exchange is nostalgic. We're going back to 2005.
And then, and we'll take it back to 1934. The Book Exchange. Go check them out. Burning Couch is the code. 25% off. Do it now. Do it. Do it. Do it.
From Jam Street Media.